Hello and welcome. What the fuck? We'll just restart that. Blip, 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 blip. Here we go. Hello and welcome to Three's a Crime, a true crime podcast. I'm Tori.
I'm Emily.
And I'm Lindsey.
And that's our intro.
Here we are professional podcasters.
We're podcasters, bitches.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Lindsey's back from surgery.
I am.
From Vegas.
From Vegas.
Vegas.
Vegas. So, how was your surgery?
My surgery was a dream.
It was a dream.
If I'm going to say that. I went to Blossom Bariatrics. It's in Vegas, of course. And they give you a really nice hotel, and they give you an SUV driver to take you to appointments and stuff.
Yeah.
And they're all very nice. Everybody was amazing. And they're very supportive. And a lot of people that work there have had it done.
Oh,
So that
Yeah, because
also
I
really
asked, I was
helps.
like, is it like a bunch of skinny, judgy people working there? And she was like, absolutely not. The
Good
thing I thought
question.
was really cool was them like coming to your hotel and room and giving you some aftercare
yes.
there.
So you have surgery and then they send you home when they see you're ready. I had a really hard time and my blood pressure was really high. So they had to pump me full of so many drugs to get it down. You get to your room and you're supposed to walk every 2 hours for 15 minutes. to
Even
get-
overnight?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. Like when you get this surgery or like your gallbladder, they put gas in your abdomen so they can work in there better. So you walk either like hour for 15 or 2 for 15, and then you have whoever's with you like beat on your back. I had Bren literally beat my back to get the bubbles out.
Emily was really upset that she wasn't there to be able to do it because the idea of being able to beat
On us.
On someone
Yeah.
really
willingly.
just brings me joy. I just
Yeah.
creamed my jeans
Legally.
just now.
You do it legally. So that whole night after surgery, you're like walking every 2 hours, and then there's an aide that will come to your room like around 8 or so. She can around 8, and they give you the whole saline like fluids, and it has a bunch of stuff in it,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like that made everything so much better.
Really?
So much. It was like night and day.
I think we should consider opening one of those here because I know at when I used to live in Texas and I would go to ACL, which is a 3-day music festival if you don't know. They would have these like B12 IV pop-ups. And because people would be hungover.
Well,
And
if
even
you-
if you weren't hungover, just being out in the hot
Yeah, just
Texas
being
sun
dehydrated
for 3 days,
Yeah.
man, it was, yeah.
Yeah.
The sad thing, though, was that Lindsey picked her last meal. She was allowed to have a last meal.
Yes.
And then she couldn't get in to
No.
get it. And
I wanted In-N-Out so fucking bad.
Why couldn't you get it?
Because the line was like
Oh, that's
the
right.
whole
Like
parking lot was just a
insane.
line. And I can't have carbonation.
ever again?
No, not
Oh, I
you.
could never do it.
Yeah,
Fascinating.
but everybody there's amazing.
Is
and
Bang
sweet.
carbonated?
Yeah.
Oh, is that why you tried to bang and it didn't? You tried to bang. Tried to have a bang.
That didn't-
no,
wasn't better.
dear. Wait. Were you saying bang the drink or bang your husband?
Oh.
Because I read it as banging your husband. I tried
like when
to
I
bang.
pulled a muscle.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was banging my husband.
Oh, okay.
I-
You thought it was a bang drink. No, banging. Okay, no.
I thought you tried.
I did two at first, and then I had to read it again.
And I couldn't figure out how drinking a bang pulled a muscle, but I'm like, if anybody can do it, it's Lindsey.
No, she was just trying to take the fuck truck to Pound Town.
Yes.
Oh.
Okay, the other thing I wanted to say is we have a new patron.
Yay!
So my sweet, sweet little babe cousin Bailey, who listens to us religiously, she said she like has us in her car all the time, and her friends will like get in the car and be like, "Who is like what the fuck are you listening to?" She's like, "It's my cousin." So she every Wednesday she listens to us. It's like
Aw.
religiously. And so we just did part 1 of Cleveland, and part 2 you get it's going to be already out by the time this comes out. But typically with 2-parters, you get the second one right away if you're a patron. So she signed up on the same day just to get part 2. And I texted her and I was like, "Did you do that just to get the second part?" She's like, "Yes, this is unreal." She's like, "I have to know the end of this story." So Bailey is our patron. Thank you, my darling.
Thank you,
Yay.
Bailey. And happy belated birthday. She just had a
Happy
birthday.
belated
Happy
not
birthday,
too long ago.
bitch.
Let's talk about the crazy murder that happened in our own backyard. So, a bunch of crazy has been happening in Spokane.
Dude, we were on the last podcast, Side Stories podcast.
Really?
Yeah, they're like, so in Spokane,
I was gonna say-
Washington, Ben. God damn it, Ben.
We're in places say Oregon. I was listening to a podcast and they said Oregon Trail. And I was like, no.
Oh my God,
No.
Marcus does that now to bother people.
I never heard it pronounced wrong until I guess I've lived here my whole life, so it makes sense that I wouldn't hear it pronounced wrong.
Oh, it's
John
I think it's
Eisman,
Josh.
60, has been charged with first-degree murder of Aaron Sorensen, 19, who was found stabbed to death in the trunk of an abandoned car here in Spokane. Eisman was arrested and had since told police that he killed Sorensen because he claimed that his daughter had been sold to a sex trafficking ring in Seattle for $1,000 in October of last year, and he believed that Sorensen was the one who had sold her. And the dad was able to get the daughter back, but decided to go, way vigilante, and kill this kid. And it was like he had put the car somewhere, and then a friend came and moved the car for him, not knowing that there was a dead body in the trunk.
Oh,
Though I'm
boy.
kind of like, I feel like you would smell that, because this kid had been missing for a month.
Yeah, but I think he was only in the back of the car for like a week or 2.
Oh,
He was missing from his family for like a year because he was in
that's what
Seattle.
right.
Yeah.
So according to we had shared that story on Facebook, and then a friend of the family responded to us and said, like, there's another side to this story. Go read up on like what this friend of the family has said. So we also shared that. So go
Right.
read it. But it says that
Aaron Sorensen, he
Aaron
was 19,
Sorensen.
that he was autistic. He had an IQ of
like
about
81.
Yeah. That he, mentally was not even capable, and of concocting such a thing.
But he had
And
been
these-
missing in Seattle for
Yes. So
months.
he was a very, very good kid, but also very susceptible to other people,
Yeah.
and kind of fell in with a bad crowd, which this daughter was part of. And this whole kind of group of them were in Seattle doing drugs, living on the streets.
Yeah.
So already in
which also is not uncommon for Seattle.
not uncommon.
That's
no.
not like a weird thing
Well,
to do.
and it's not really uncommon in Spokane anymore either, because
Yeah.
I'm hearing, and I have no idea how true that is, but that the homeless are saying that that quite a few of them, and the reason we've seen the uptick is that they're being moved here from Seattle and Portland.
Mm.
But at the same time,
Yep.
a study was just put out that like 76% of the homeless in Spokane are from Spokane. But anyway.
So they were in Seattle. The daughter had just allegedly gotten a $20,000 payout from a car accident, and according to the victim's family, had said, according to them, that they went over to Seattle together and were just blowing through this money on drugs and whatever the fuck whatever, and they were like driving a car, but someone had stolen their car. I don't really have a clear answer on how
it's a very, very, very long post, but essentially
and it's really cloudy.
It is cloudy. And the impression that I got from reading it was that, like, look, this kid was like duped out of his car. He was duped out of all of these things.
He did
He's
not
very
have the
suggestible.
mindset to sell someone
He
to a
that was
sex
not
trafficking
something that he
ring.
would have been even mentally capable of doing. And this has been a really hot topic in our area.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Because
it
a
has.
lot of, GoFundMe's have been started for the father, and
Mhm.
people are like, well, set him free. He's a hero, yada yada. And I'm over here with the very unpopular opinion of I understand if he truly believed that this kid did that, why he did what he did. But we are a country of laws,
Yeah,
and
you still have to go to jail.
he took someone's life.
Yeah.
You know, he could have turned the kid in, he could have pressed charges, he could
Well-
have gone through a trial and everything else, but he chose to take the law into his own hands, and
You have to
he-
pay the consequences.
he has to pay
Which
the
we all
consequences
have
for what he
said.
did. Yeah.
Like we have said, the three of us have said, like, oh, if someone did that to so and so, you know,
Right.
like I would fucking. And now that it's happened, and we only have so much information.
Yeah,
I'm really
right.
curious of what'll happen.
And
when
there
the
are
daughter
definitely
speaks out.
definitely two sides to this
Yeah,
story.
And they're
for
basically
sure.
Waiting
just-
for the daughter. to
Yeah, they're
come
just
on.
like the family sides. They're not
Yeah.
like any real person who has like an unbiased story.
Yeah.
It's just like so.
The investigation is ongoing, as they say.
It's pretty
Yeah.
crazy. But one of the comments that honestly I didn't even think about, but someone commented on our post that said like, well, if anything, he's really fucking dumb because now he's never gonna like see his daughter outside of prison ever again. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like
yeah,
he did all
yeah.
this for his kid. Now he's just
Right.
gonna go to prison for the rest of his life.
Right.
Like
But I mean, he has said, at least I think I'm almost positive that I read that he's like more than prepared to go to jail. He did what he did, you know. I said what I said. I did what I did.
Yeah.
And so I mean, if he did it with that understanding, because he likely is going to go to jail. Like it doesn't matter
He's still, yeah.
what your
he murdered someone. It doesn't matter if it was a crime of passion. He's definitely
Yes.
going in for the rest of his
Yeah.
life.
right. And I don't even know that you could say that this was a crime of passion because he had his daughter back. His daughter was safe. This was pure revenge.
Yeah.
You know,
That's true.
and something that he would have had to found this kid, stalked him, found him, killed, you know, and
Yeah.
the kid was 19. And I'm not saying, I mean, not that sex traffickers can't be 19, but I don't know. It's a tough
really
story,
hard.
and
It
we
is.
do not know the full details.
No.
I think that's the biggest thing because when we initially posted the story, I mean, I was kind of like, I get it, Dad.
Oh,
you know, and then you
totally.
get the flip side of it, and it's like, well, yeah, you know what? All of the stuff the news has said is allegedly.
Yeah.
There, you know, we don't know that there is any proof that this kid did anything
Oh,
to his daughter.
And the fucking family found out how their kid died on the news.
Oh yeah.
They knew he was missing and they knew I believe they knew I want to say they knew he was dead. They didn't know how he was killed.
Oh
and
my
they saw it on the
God.
news that he was killed by
This guy, yeah.
this guy.
And
And they were like, "Wait, what? Like
Yeah.
now he's involved in a sex trafficking like, you know, they just
yeah.
they were
it
like,
was-
"What the fuck is happening here?"
Yeah, it is
It is
still
still
a
a
very
big
big deal,
thing
and
here.
it's very
It's understandable, but Lord,
divided.
people are very bloodthirsty.
They really are, which makes me a little uncomfortable as well.
Yeah.
Just because we don't know. I mean, and
When
don't
I
know.
saw, I was really weary because I was like, but this, I don't know, this doesn't feel totally right when I
Right.
saw the headlines. So I was like, oh.
But we
Yeah.
made it's made the national news because
Oh my God, yeah.
came up in one of my work meetings. Somebody from the Texas office was like,
They're like, "Tori,
I heard about this case." And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God. I didn't
Yeah.
realize we had made national news. But we will, you know, as we get additional information, we'll continue to post on our Facebook page or update TikTok and on here as well. As we get information, we'll let you know.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're on Astroworld. They had their protocols for security to take, and Smurfs was used. What you used on the radio to call it like this person is dead. This person's a Smurf. So they have that for dead people. Smurf is the code, but they didn't have anything for fucking riots or not either riots. It was something very mosh pits or like
Right. I had watched a TikTok of one of the first responders who was working that show. And he was talking about how, like, okay, so they're always teamed up. And he was talking about going into the crowd. And so they're, you know, going to find their person. And he ended up getting involved in like 3 other stops trying to get to the person that he was supposed to be getting to. And every time he would see somebody working on someone doing one person CPR, and he was just like, "Where's your partner?" And they're like, they're off doing, working on somebody else.
CPR and someone else.
And there's always supposed to be two of them, but there were just too many things happening.
Yeah.
But the Astro World thing, like, that just comes down to greed.
Absolutely.
Money and greed.
Yep.
And
Live Nation is no
Live
stranger to that.
No, not at all. And also on TikTok have been multiple videos of all kinds, especially, heavy metal shows.
Yep.
That,
Oh
the
my God.
performers stopping, kicking people out.
Let me tell you, I used to go to my shows all the time, probably maybe like 2 a week.
Oh my God.
I was in like my teens and
yeah.
20s.
I mean, that totally sounds like you.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised.
And they were hardcore, they were punk, they were metal, and if you fell down, you got picked right back up. They like made sure you're okay, and then you do it again. It's just like the most support I've ever seen.
Well,
Right.
was it Five Finger Death Punch? I think I watched one where he was like, "I just watched you pick this guy up and throw him down on his neck." And he was like, "You go over and apologize," and the guy wouldn't. He's like, "Get the fuck!" I mean, he's like, "Out, out," and the guy would. And I mean, he was like, "You are what gives us a bad name," and like, just
good.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
awesome.
he
Dude, the whole fucking thing and all the TikTok videos of people who were at the show, of like the footage of in the middle of the fucking crowd, and you're hearing people say like, "Someone over here is dead, someone over here is dead, like stop the show."
Yeah.
And you can see the security with fucking panic in their face because there's just people dropping dead fucking everywhere.
It's insane. And I actually was at a Dave Matthews show back in, I don't know, it was probably early 2000s.
He plays at the gorge
He
that's
does.
right next to us like every summer.
Yeah, he does.
Does like a 3-day thing.
Yeah, he does. But I saw him, I mean, like back during his height.
I think I saw them, but I don't remember when.
And at Hershey Park, and he stopped a show because at some point the crowd started to rush, and there was a girl that was literally being crushed like over the gate, and he would not start the show back up until he was like, "Move back." People were like not moving.
No,
they didn't want to move. They didn't want to give up their spot. But he wouldn't start the show again until people moved.
Such bullshit.
Do you want to tell your story first, or do you want me to do these?
Why
really
don't I
quick?
I'll tell my paranormal story first, and then you can tell one of the listener lores, and then I'll tell the second story, and then...
Well, all right, so my first paranormal story, this was my first experience. Like,
Listener lore.
Beautiful.
So my first experience, I had moved from Spokane in 2010 back to Pennsylvania. My mom had double knee surgery, and I was going home to help. And so at the time, I was living with my mom, my stepdad, and my oldest brother, who was going through a divorce. So we were all living in my stepdad's home. And this is a really old house. Like, I think at the time it was like 118 years old.
Holy boy.
And so, the house had been built on, I mean, in many different areas. And lots of people had died in that house. I mean, just, people didn't used to die in hospitals. They died at home. And I know that Glenn's wife, who had passed away, her father had died in that house. And we used to joke because, like, you could be sitting in the kitchen. And, like, my mom and I both have this really bad habit of leaving cabinet doors, like, opening them and then just leaving them open.
Oh, my God, you do that, too? Michael does it, and he swears he doesn't do it, and I could fucking murder him.
No, it's bad.
I can't believe that's a real thing.
It is a real thing. And I don't even realize that I've done it, either.
Yeah, neither does he. And I'm like, I don't fucking...
I looked at your kitchen, and I'm at your house, I'm like,
they're always
open.
It drives me
open,
crazy.
yeah.
That is, like, a real thing that people do. He will also take a block of cheese and take a huge bite out of it and put it back just to be an asshole.
Yeah, that I don't do. But I mean, if I did it at my house, like, it's just me and dogs.
I would do that to my own cheese.
So, but there was like a day, so my mom's like in the kitchen, she's doing something, I'm sitting at the table, I'm eating, and like Tupperware shit just starts falling out of the cupboard, and I'm like, this house is haunted. And my mom's like, whatever. Mm-hmm. So, then there'd be other nights where I would be home alone, I'd be downstairs, and I mean, there were people walking around up there. I mean, you could hear them. You could hear them walking around. Definitely people walking around upstairs. And so, and two, like when you would go upstairs, There was like my brother's bedroom and my bedroom, and then on the other side was my mom and stepdad's like master bedroom, but there was a door and like a back stairway that goes down like into the kitchen. So I mean, it's a weird. It was a weird
It's
house.
a strange layout.
You
because
know,
it was built on it.
Yeah, it was
Makes
built
for
on and on and on.
service, yeah.
So one
Well, and
night,
back then they
that.
don't have a kitchen. That's what I always think about in houses like that. They didn't have a bathroom or a kitchen when the house was built.
Yeah.
So you gotta
well, yeah,
like,
because the kitchen
Yeah.
in that house,
there's no plumbing, there's no electricity.
the
so.
kitchen in that house was always a little bit colder because the kitchen and the dining room were built on later, and at
Right.
one point the kitchen in that house had been like the back porch.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So okay, so that's the house setup. So one night I go to bed, I'm sleeping, I wake, and my bedroom faced the front of the house, so my room would be slightly illuminated by the street light outside. And I wake up and I just see the outline of a man, well, like it's because it's black in my room, standing right next to my bed. Now at this point, so my parents and Glenn and his wife, they had been friends since I was a child. So they had known each other for 30 years. And so kind of his wife, Glenn's wife died, my dad died. They got together to like, you know, because they both were going through the same
Yeah.
thing. And then they decided they fell in love and they got married. But I didn't really know Glenn as an adult. And I got super creeped out because I'm like, why is my stepdad next to my bed in the middle of the night?
Oh.
So I'm like, get out of my room. I'm screaming and I turn over and I flick on the light and there is nobody there.
No.
And this is at like 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. And then I just hear from my brother who's sleeping in the bedroom next to me going, are you all right?
Oh my
'Cause
god.
it's 2 o'clock in the morning and
Yeah.
I'm like, get out. Because I was convinced.
I like how you're yelling for someone to get out. And he's like, hey, you okay over there?
Yeah.
Like there's someone actively in your room murdering you, and he's like, hey, keep her down. I'm trying to sleep.
Yeah, that's about right.
Tori.
And then I was just like, yeah, I'm okay. I mean, and I was fully awake. And I mean, it was not a mist or a shot. I mean, I could see
outline.
like a full physical body.
Yeah.
Just no features of a face. And as
Ugh.
soon as I turned the light on, it was gone.
You've seen very many all the paranormal things.
Yeah. Well, and then that was kind of when that started happening a lot. You know, that kind of weird stuff that I was sort of like, Ryan, can you
Yeah.
help me? RockTheDivine.com.
I used to see a ghost that walked by my bedroom when I was little every night.
I think you
I'd
told us
see a
that. I feel like I
shadow.
remember that.
I had an imaginary friend, Denny, when I was a kid. And from what I understand, most of the time, imaginary friends aren't really imaginary friends.
Oh, that would make sense.
They're spirit friends. Because kids,
Kids are super.
they're
you
they're
can
just
see
they're
and feel
open.
shit,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. That was my first experience with the paranormal story.
Creepy.
Yuck.
Okay, should we get to a...
Yeah, do a listen.
Okay.
There's an alarm.
This one is from a listener named Brittany Reichwald. Hello, Brittany.
Hi, Brittany.
Hello, Brittany.
Hi. It was the spring of 2020, and I went to a new friend's house. Her house would make random noises, adjust the thermostat, knock plants off the shelves, etc. We knew immediately her name was Yeezy. She followed me home, possessed my dog, and now he pees all over my house. Thanks, Yeezy. The end. And then it
everybody
says...
should be familiar with Yeezy.
I
at this
know.
point.
And then at the bottom it says, this was not that funny, and I have no spooky stories, but I love this concept.
Oh, you know what? I lied. That was not my first experience with the paranormal.
Oh.
did
because when
Yeezy come to you?
Yeezy
Oh.
did not come to me, but I was staying over at my friend's house. And we were, I don't know, 13, 14, and we were sleeping in the living room. And I saw a big ball of light go up the wall, and then it shot across the room, and it was just gone.
Weird.
And I think when I told like my mom about it, she was like, "It was just a car headlight," and I was like, "Okay, I guess."
Right.
But I didn't realize it. I mean, at the time, I was just like, "Yeah, okay, that's probably what it was."
Okay, so now, great listener lore story. Thank you, Brittany.
Yes,
thank you,
Brittany. The next one is from our favorite baker, Hannah.
Hannah.
It literally says, "Hey, it's your favorite baker, Hannah."
Hannah, who's now engaged, and we're so excited.
Yay!
for her.
Congrats to both of you.
Yeah,
To
seriously.
both.
Also, both of them are our Patreons.
Yeah.
And they were both patrons for like months before I was like, wait, do you two live in the same house? She's like, yeah.
And they're both adorable.
Yeah, they're
Like
both really sweet.
He's real cute too.
I love them. And I haven't read this, so I don't know what this is.
Okay.
Hey, it's your favorite baker, Hannah. I was friends with a convicted murderer. His name is John Arthur Radovich, known by our friend group as Arthur or Four Finger Death Punch. What a great way to bring it back around.
Yeah.
You can probably guess why we called him that, but in case it wasn't clear, he was missing a finger on one hand. Parentheses, LOL. So let's start from the beginning, or from what my muddled young adult brain can remember. We met through mutual friends in late 2015, early 2016. We all hung out at a local vape shop and we were part of the rave scene, so our mutual interests at the time brought us together. Parentheses, now I look back at this and cringe at my younger self. LOL. I didn't know much about Arthur. I had heard stories from him about medical discharge from the military due to brain cancer, which he said he was in remission for. I don't know what happened to his finger, but assumed it was related. Was any of this true? I still don't know. And I and a few others, including Arthur, frequented this vape shop nearly every day for several months. Our friend group went to the fair, we went to shows and raves, and we generally just hung out. I remember running into him downtown. At the time, I rode the city bus everywhere, and his car had broken down. This was in the time frame that he committed his crime. Before or after, I'm not sure. I kept him company for 10 to 15 minutes before I had to catch the bus. I told him good luck and we parted ways. The first time we ever got a whiff of something funny from Arthur was at a rave not too long afterwards. A few of my friends had pre-gamed in the car with him since they had carpooled, drinking whatever he had mixed in 2-liter bottles before they made their way inside the venue.
Oh, God.
Not long after, those who had consumed the drinks felt heavy, not in a drunk way. This quickly escalated. My friends were removed from the event and, quote, the target was pinpointed, Arthur. He had provided the drinks, and not long after, one of my friends found a nearly empty bottle of pills in his pocket. No report was made, but he was exiled. We didn't hear from him again. The next time we saw him was on our local news. I can't imagine, like, seeing someone that I used to be friends with on the fucking news.
I can. I'll tell you about
Oh
that.
my God. The next time we saw him was on our local news. He had been on the run for about 5 months. He admitted to murder in a call to a friend out of town. The victim, Robert Tester, Montana State Senator's nephew.
Oh.
How did we get here? Well, from what I've heard, Arthur had a 17-year-old girlfriend. Parentheses. Ew, he was 22 at the time.
Ew.
They had broken up and she started a new relationship with Robert Tester, and Tester had assaulted her. She reached out to Arthur and he decided that he was going to do something about it.
Oh,
The something
God.
he did was drive to Tester's home with a sword and stab him and beat him to death. Not only this, but there was an unfortunate witness, Robert Tester's 8-year-old daughter.
Oh my God.
To add insult to injury, Arthur had the fucking audacity to look this little girl in the eyes and say, "Go back upstairs, I'm going to kill your dad." Out of fear, she did. The next morning, she was able to contact her grandmother not long after the scene was found. The cause of death was determined to be a blow with a splitting maul to the back of the head. In August 2019, Arthur was convicted of murder and sentenced to life in prison. It still shocks me to this day. To even be in this close of proximity to such a thing is a lot. To have potentially been around him after the murder, damn. So yeah, that's the story. Sorry I gave you the heavy one. I could have just told you about one of my paranormal experiences, but feels really good to get this very real piece of life off my chest. Sorry if my story is kind of everywhere. I've never typed it out before. Peace. Love y'all, Hannah.
Oh my God.
Thank you,
girl.
Hannah.
Yeah.
That is fucking a little crazy.
Yeah.
Like,
So I actually have a similar story. There's a guy that
hang on, let me just.
Yeah, that made me feel so. Poor Hannah. Sorry, Hannah. You were.
I
holding
keep
on
getting
to that.
goosebumps. I can't. I just. Sorry.
So no, it's just a very similar sort of situation. So there was a guy that was kind of in our friend group when I was in high school. He is actually the reason that I met my best friend. He was in love with my best friend. I was in love with this guy named Ed. Ed, I still love you. And you girls. And I was like, well, I'll call Michelle for you if you call Ed for me. And he did. And then Ed called me and I was just like, okay, I gotta call back. So, you know, Bill was a very, very nice guy, but he was tall and skinny. He had greasy hair. He had acne. He was just one of those kids that like everybody
He looked
picked
like
on.
Daniel LaPlante.
Yes. Exactly. No, I mean
Yeah.
a very similar situation.
Yeah.
And it's funny because his stepdad had a radio show and where he would play like oldies, and so we would all call and dedicate stuff to each other. And it was
Oh
really
my God,
funny.
how cute is that? And now you basically have a radio
and
show.
Yeah,
It all
true.
comes back
It all
around.
comes back around. And his mom used to like give us wine coolers and stuff to drink, so we just
Hell
thought we were
yeah.
like hot
The
shit.
bee's knees.
But he had called Ed for me, so I called Michelle and I left her a message, and I was just like, because I knew she would be like, ew,
Yeah.
which is bad because he was such a sweet guy, but I knew. And so I was just like, hey, like, I'm not crazy, but like, here's the thing. And she was so intrigued by my message. She called me. We were on the phone for like 4 hours, and we have been best friends for 30 years.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's
So
so
it is
cute.
because of him that I met my best friend. But I hadn't talked to him in 20, over 20 years.
Yeah.
But Michelle sends me this thing, and he had been out at a bar and was talking to some girl, and then her boyfriend showed up and started getting, not nice with her. And
Oh.
I think had left, and Bill was like, let me take you home. He was really, and knowing what I knew of him then, he really was a genuinely nice guy.
Yeah.
And I think he genuinely wanted to make sure that she was okay. And so he had taken her home, and I guess when he took her home, the boyfriend came out, words were exchanged, and Bill shot him.
Oh.
And I think he stabbed him, if I remember correctly.
Jesus.
And I think he claimed self-defense. I think he claimed that the guy had a knife, but like no knife was found on him or whatever. And so, yeah.
You can claim anyone if the other person's, or claim
Yeah.
anything if the other person's
He's
dead.
dead. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, and I think he may have wounded somebody else, but.
Only two can
Jesus.
keep a secret.
And I went to
if
school.
one of them is dead.
And I went to school with another kid who was a preacher's kid. And
Always the preacher's kids.
he got really heavy into drugs and started robbing gas stations, but he would have a gun and he tied people up and did all kinds of the duct tape and the whole thing. And so that becomes armed robbery, which carries a stiffer penalty. So he is also in prison. So 2 kids that I hung out with in
Wow.
high school are now in prison, and I have a podcast about true crime.
That's wild.
But yeah.
Yeah.
I have a super quick one. I don't know if
Yeah.
it really
Good.
matters, but so before I met Michael, I had an ex-boyfriend, and I was with him for like through high school. And for those of you that don't know, I moved out when I was 15, and then I kind of like lived a bunch of places.
Couch surf.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
kind of couch surfed. My stuff was in like garbage bags. And anyway, I think I was probably living with my boyfriend at the time. And we were watching a movie, and at the time we were living like in his stepdad's basement because I think I was 18. And we would come upstairs and watch a movie with this is so weird. His stepmom, nope, his mom and stepdad were not together anymore. But we
still
lived
live
with the
together, or-
no, she
oh.
didn't live there. Like we lived with the stepdad, even though they weren't. But he was always like a dad. Like he still
Yeah,
is
he
like a
was still
super
the
great
dad.
guy. Technically, my stepdad isn't my stepdad anymore, but he still is. So
Yeah.
we were living with the stepdad and the stepdad's girlfriend.
Okay.
So I guess friends more.
Yeah.
Anyway, and we're watching this movie, and the living room was set up so that all 3 of us were watching the screen, but we were like over here on a couch. Paul was his name. He was like in a chair, and then his girlfriend was over here. And all 3 of us had a clear shot of the bathroom. I might have told you guys this before. We had a clear shot of the bathroom, and I'm like watching the movie, and I see Paul like get up, go to the bathroom, and I don't know like how much time had passed, but I was like, did he not come back? And I looked, and he was like still sitting there, and I was like, how the fuck did you like get back there without me seeing you? And he's like, what the fuck are you saying? And I'm like, you literally just like got up, went to the bathroom. And he's like, no. And I looked at, his name was David. I looked at David, and I was like, he's like, oh my God, he's like, I totally thought the exact same thing. And I was like, are you fucking lying to me right now? Like we both for real thought we saw him get up and
You
like.
probably did. So there are,
Yeah.
if you like look up doppelganger stories online, there are some seriously creepy, and they are all like that.
But I
Somebody
don't-
being in a room, or you see somebody go by, And I mean, there were ones like people have had full conversations with somebody like in a kitchen, and then moments later that person walked through the front door.
Fuck that.
Yeah.
Well, I think if I remember correctly, I remember it being just a black figure. It was like in my peripheral vision. I was
Right.
like watching TV, so I don't remember like if he was wearing the same
so,
clothes.
I mean,
I remembered something.
Oh,
Sorry,
okay,
go
good.
on.
Well, my story's basically done.
This is, I think it was 18, 19 or something, and my friend Metal Ben, and there was Jesse, and Chris was the drummer.
Like
That's
you
how I
guys.
met Chris.
Little Ben and Jesse walking through the middle show. Oodalada, golly, what a day.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you for serenading us
Yeah.
this
You're
morning.
They were called Odium back in the day. But he lived, you know, that pink house that is on the kind of corner of fucking Monroe and you know the house that has all the Christmas lights in it?
No.
Like it's a whole fucking house.
I
just
really
of
got to know the
lights.
cross street now. Monroe and what?
I can't. Frederick, I think.
I don't know.
But
I
it's
don't
this big pink old house.
Okay.
It's super old. Has all original stuff inside. Well, did
That's
then.
amazing.
And they started to record or like practice in the attic, and I hated it. That place never felt good.
Right.
It was definitely full of a lot of ghosts, but I was pushed when I was walking down the stairs and I landed on like the steps on my butt.
Oh my God.
Really hard. And nobody
That
was
definitely
there.
didn't help your back. I'm telling you
No.
what.
That just like started it.
Yeah, I know. That was the fucking, literally the straw that broke the camel's
Yeah.
back.
Yeah. Fucking
Do you, are you
ghost.
calling her a camel?
Hey,
No.
it's not my fault that that's the term. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay.
That's
I
crazy.
was very upset about it.
So we've all had a little spooky something.
I've always had it. I'm just so used to it.
Right.
That's weird. That's the sad.
I came
weird
to it
thing.
very, very late in life. Okay,
That's
I have
true.
one last story, and then
Okay.
we'll be done. This is the very first time, because I've had to do it a few times, the very first time I had to call 911, and I think I was probably 11, 12, maybe 13, not sure, somewhere in the early teen years. So we had gone to Florida to visit one of my brothers, and you know, he had a little apartment, and so I think my dad was like on the couch, or my mom and dad were maybe on a couch bed, and I was on the floor or whatever. And at like 1:30 in the morning, my brother's door swings open, and he comes like rushing out, and he's on the phone, and he was just like da 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 da, and he's like, you know, we all wake up, and my brother's like saying to my mom like, go across the call, like call 911. Mom was like, what's happening? So what had happened was he was the manager of a grocery store, and his assistant manager had closed, and they were being robbed. And while my brother is on the phone, the assistant manager is like, I have a gun to my head. I need to know the combination to the safe. And my brother's like, and I don't remember, like, or maybe he was the assistant manager. Like, I don't think he had it. Like, it was on like a time lock or something. Like, he couldn't just
There
give
was
it
no
to
way,
him.
yeah.
Right. And so my brother's like, all right, like, you know, hold on, I'm on my way down. So my brother and then my dad get in the car to drive down there.
Oh, no.
My mom is like, my husband and my son are going to go like
Yeah,
try to
like
confront
what
these
the fuck?
robbers.
Yeah.
And so
Like rule number 1 of robbery, you don't confront them. Just
like,
give
yeah,
him
just
give him your
they
car
want.
keys.
I mean,
just,
even
yeah.
when I worked in a bank, they were like, just, you know, comply.
Yeah.
That's the deal. Comply. And
It's
then
just
after
money.
it's over, get some water and then offer anybody in the lobby water. Because if you go into shock, the best thing they can give you is water. Anyway. So so my mom's like, go across the hall and call 911. And I'm like, and so I go over and I'm just like, you know, and these poor people, because it's like 1:30 in the morning, the guy opens the door like, you know, cracking. I'm like, I need to use your phone. So I call 911 and I'm like, you know, and my mom's still trying to like so my brother hasn't quite left, you know, they haven't quite left yet. And my mom was getting the details from them. So they're going down and out because my dad wasn't going to let my brother go by himself.
Right.
And so, I'm like on the phone with 911. Well, and the people at first didn't want to let me have the phone, and I think probably because somebody knocks on your door and it's a kid, and like you're, like
Totally,
some
you're-
kind of
you're
a
like-
ruse,
you're
like
like-
somebody's gonna try to,
Especially anyone in like our position. We're like,
Exactly, yeah.
what the fuck is a child doing at my
Yeah.
front door?
right. And so, but he did eventually, because I was just like, my brother is gonna get shot or something, and so they did. And so my mom, I was initially on the phone with 911, and I was like, I don't know what to do, I don't know what I was supposed. And then, because she's like, where are you calling from? Like, and I didn't know.
You're like, just trace it. Just
I'm like,
get here.
I'm 11. I'm at my brother's apartment. I'm like, I know that I'm in, Plant City, Florida. Like
Oh my
that's, or
God.
Lakeland. I think we were in Lakeland. So then my mom took over the phone. And so by the time my dad and and so then my mom and I are just like in panic mode because we're not hearing. And this
Yeah.
is
No
before cell phones.
Well, yeah, because you had to go get the neighbor
To get, yeah. And so, because my brother was on the phone trying to stall the robbers, and trying to get the information. I guess by the time they got there, the robbers had gone. And so my brother just had to do some questioning, fill out some paperwork and things like that. The poor guy that was working there was totally traumatized. But they found out later on that it had been an inside job and somebody that worked there had planned this with some other people and actually like let them in, and it was a whole thing. That was the first time I had to call 911.
Well,
That's my true
fun.
crime story.
Wow.
Wow,
That's it.
it's beautiful.
So if you guys like this listener lore, please send us your stories. We're more than happy to read them.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah,
read 'em,
Um,
bitch.
our email is in the description of every episode.
But also, if you're too lazy to look it up, it's just threesacrime@gmail.com. It's not hard.
Yeah.
All right, so that's it for today's
Yeah.
Shoot the Shit /lore listener lore episode.
Yeah.
Good times.
Thanks and bye-bye.
Okay,
Thank
love
you.
you.
Love
Bye.
you, bye.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode. We put out new episodes every single Wednesday, and if you're impatient like me, be sure to become a Patreon where you can get your episodes early each week. For as little as $2 a month, you not only significantly support the production of this podcast, but you'll also get extra benefits and perks for being one of our special Patreon weirdlings. Go to patreon.com/threesacrime for more information. For all of our links related to our socials, affiliate codes, where to listen, and everything else, go to linktree/threesacrime.